Ah, the gun, the weapon most associated with violent crime. This seems to be it's going to be an exciting lecture, but let's see what's going on. Let's see what happens. What is the gun? How does it work? And how does it provide evidence for the crimes that it is very often used for, especially in this country, the United States? Okay, how does it work? It's the bullets of a gun that kill, not the gun. Of course, you can kill with a gun itself, but anyway, we're looking at the bullets that come out of the gun. So let's take a look at what the bullet actually is. Inside over here is the gunpowder. When you ignite gunpowder the way it is, it will react and produce a lot of gas very quickly. And it will cause this is like, let's say, a lead bullet, or it could be copper. They're different. It's very often made of lead. It causes it to burst out at very high speed and destroy whatever it gets to. That's how it kills. So this is actually, let's say these bullets, this part of it, right over here, that's actually that's the cartridge. That's not what actually kills. That is what contains the gunpowder and basically holds everything else together. In any event, here's the bullet. Here's the gunpowder. When it ignites, it pushes out the bullet. So what this is the primer that has pretty much unstable chemicals in it, but since it's held very tightly in this metal piece, nothing happens until something hits the primer and hits the primer hard enough. Then it'll cause the chemicals here to react very quickly, igniting the gunpowder. Okay, that ignites the gunpowder, which sort of more or less explodes and propels out this lead projectile. That is the actual bullet. That's the actual bullet that does the killing. So here's like a cutaway view of an automatic, semi-automatic, let's say. What happens is, you know how this, in the way this looks, like this hammer, let's say, bangs against this pin. The pin, it's called a firing pin. It's not actually, but it strikes that part. See, it hits the primer. Hits it hard enough to ignite the primer, blowing up this gunpowder, blasting this bullet through the barrel of the gun. If there wouldn't be a barrel, it would just, like, who knows, it would go all different directions. So that's how it works. That's how a gun works. You have the bullets, you have the striking pin hitting the primer place, and gunpowder blowing up, sending out the bullet through the barrel. There are important parts that you should know about. Here again, this is a slightly different kind of semi-automatic, but again, it's the size of the firing pin. See, this bullet would be placed correctly right around here, more or less. The firing pin would hit the bullet and it'll come out. Notice that the little stripes over here, it's a corkscrew pattern. It's for this kind of gun also. This kind of is what causes the bullet to spin as it gets out of the barrel. A spinning bullet travels much more straight, just like a top. When you spin it, it will not fall down as long as it's spinning, because the spinning keeps it straight. Here too, when the bullet is spun, it'll be kept on a straight path. So that's called rifling. Notice the different parts of it. We have, this is a semi-automatic. Here we have something called a revolver. Anyway, so it's a semi-automatic is slightly different in that these bullets are held in a line. There's a special magazine that holds all these bullets. It holds a lot of bullets, and you shove it in there. One bullet will get into the firing chamber, more or less, and when you pull the trigger, the firing pin hits that bullet and it comes out. It also gets ejected automatically from this ejector area. Anyway, it's called a semi-automatic because it is not an automatic that constantly by itself shoves these bullets in there and keeps them firing. You have to pull the trigger every time. That's what makes it a semi-automatic. This is actually, to a certain extent, a revolver is actually a form of semi-automatic. It's considered like a different class because it was popular before this form of semi-automatic became popular by itself. The idea behind a revolver is that what you want is after you pull the trigger and one bullet comes out, you want it to automatically feed the next bullet into the chamber. Now, the most obvious way of doing it is by rotating it. Keep things in a, you have it rotate on a wheel. You shoot one bullet, the next one will rotate into place and shoot that bullet. This is a little more complicated. What actually happens here is after you shoot the bullet, it goes out and there's like a blast here. This part, I think, yanks back, pulls the bullet up and into place. It's more complicated with many more pieces involved. Here, it just revolves. You shoot the bullet, the thing revolves and gives you the place for the next bullet. The revolver, however, cannot generally hold as many bullets. It usually holds only about 6. There are those that can, I think, hold 8, but mostly around 6. Because it just takes up a lot of space in this revolving mechanism. This is a straight line. It holds 7, 9, or even 11, I think, bullets. I don't know how many they actually hold. It really depends on the size of the magazine. So, however, this thing has many more moving parts and it jams and breaks a little bit more easily than a revolver, which has just a rotation. You'll notice the revolver has the same kind of mechanism. Here we have this hammer over here that hits the bullet. Right, that's where it is. Shoots that, and ignites the gunpowder, shoots it through this rifled barrel, so it all comes out straight. They actually say that even though a revolver has fewer bullets, it's better for home defense because it doesn't jam as much. It's easier to repair also, and it doesn't break as much. This one has many more moving parts and it breaks more. It holds more bullets, but as they say for home defense, you're not starting a war. You really don't need many more than 6 bullets to fight off 2 or 3 attackers. Anyway, we have that's a little bit about handguns that people have, and you may notice this revolver as the classic shape of the Old West, rootin' tootin' finest shooting 6-gun. Well, yeah, that's what it was. They used this kind of a gun, the revolver. In the American West, when it was wild and you had all kinds of gunfights. As I mentioned, it's a simple device that makes it rotate around, unlike this one. They didn't have that in the days after the Civil War, when the American West was as wild as it was, and there was more expansion around those times. Anyway, let's look a little bit more about these guns. Okay, here we have a semi-automatic. There are different classifications of handguns. Now, most crimes committed with a gun are with a handgun. They're more easy to conceal. You can walk around the city with it and no one's going to know. There are ways, by the way, of seeing a person and watching the way they move and walk to see whether they're carrying a gun. The guns are kind of like heavy and they stop you from walking normally. You can actually tell how people shift their weight around. But anyway, handguns you can pretty much conceal in the cities where most people live. A long gun, like a rifle and a shotgun, you're not going to get away with it. So it's very common to have handguns. They're very easy to obtain, easy to hide, easy to maintain. And to use in crimes to conceal them until the crime is done. So they're mostly done with handguns. So what you have to know about them is the action, the shot, and the reloading, how they're kind of different. Different kinds of action. That has to do with how to get the next bullet into the chamber. Now, or